Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how I make a secure AMI in AWS. I know you might be wondering what AMI means, right? So AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image and is a pre-configured template that includes your operating systems, the configurations and software. So anytime I need a new server, I can just launch it from this template instead of building from scratch. So I use EC2 Image Builder because it automates everything, keeps my AMI patched, hardened and consistent. So the first thing I do is I search for EC2 image builder in the AWS search bar. EC2 image builder. So I click EC2 image builder and it's going to take me to where I'll create an image pipeline, which is a set of instructions AWS follows to build the AMI. So here I click create image pipeline. So I start by giving my pipeline a name, something like AMI test. So next I skip the description box. For the enhanced metadata collection, I'll leave it ticked because it will help AWS collect extra details like logs, system details about each step of the AMI I build. So next, I scroll down to the build schedule. The build schedule here basically controls when and how often AWS should automatically build my AMI. So I set the pipeline to run manual only when I trigger it. So there are other options here, to like the schedule builder if you want the pipeline to run every week, and the sharing expression if you have a specific time for the pipeline to run. So I click next. So next, I create a new image recipe. Think of an image recipe like a recipe in the kitchen. For instance, if you want to bake a cake, the recipe will tell you exactly what ingredients to use, in what orders to use ingredients, and how long to bake. So once this recipe is defined, every cake I bake will have the same ingredients. So I don't really have to do it each time. So this is also similar with an image recipe here because it will tell AWS exactly what to go into an AMI, like the operating system, the software, and also the security settings. So here there is use existing recipe and create new recipe. So I click create new recipe because I want to define what will go into the AMI I want to build. So next I have the image type here. I'll leave it as Amazon Machine Image. Under the recipe details here, I have name and fashion. So I'll give the recipe name and let's say AMI recipe. AMI recipe. Okay, so version 1.0.0. So skip the description box here. So next is the base image. So this base image here is like your starting point where you choose what your AMI will be built on. So you can pick select manage images here from AWS. You can also select AWS market images from vendors, use custom AMI images that you've built, or import base images from outside. So I tick select manage images from AWS because it's reliable and also secure. So next I have the operating image operating system. So the image operating system here is simply the operating system that will run inside the AMI. For example, I can choose Ubuntu, Amazon Linux, CentOS or Windows. So whichever one I choose here will become the core system my server will use when it launches. So for this image, I'll leave it at Amazon Linux. So next, I leave the quick Amazon manage option ticked. For the image name here, I click on the drop down and select options here. I will leave use latest version available ticked so I can be getting the latest version of the Amazon Linux. Now I have the build components. So these components here are like instructions that AWS image builder follows when creating the AMI. So they will tell the AWS what to do, like installing updates, hardening the OS with security settings and other instructions. I click add build components, select Amazon managed. So over here, I'll add a component to the recipe. So I could add a stick component to lock down the system, or maybe an Apache or Nginx to pre-install a web server. So for the build components, I can choose things like update Linux package, or the update Linux kernel. So the update Linux here ensures your operating system is patched with the latest security updates and fixes, which is the best practice for any AMI. So for this demo, I'll go with update Linux kernel. So I click on it, add to recipe. I've added a component to the recipe, that's the update Linux kernel to the recipe. So next is the test components. These test components here run automated checks to verify the images works correctly. So I'll skip it and leave it at default. Then goes for storage volume. Then I proceed to click next. So next is the workflow. This workflow here is the overall build plan that AWS follows. So for instance, it defines the steps for building, testing, and distributing the AMI. So I'll leave it as default workflow here. So AWS will handle everything automatically. I click next. So next is the infrastructure configuration. So this infrastructure configuration is the environment where the build instance actually runs the workflow. So for instance, you can think of it as the kitchen where the recipe is executed. It includes the EC2 instance type, the VPC, subnet, security group, and IAM role. So for this pipeline, I'll leave it at default. But if I want to use existing infrastructure configuration here, I click on it, then click on the drop down here and select the one I want. Or if I also want to create a new infrastructure configuration, I click on create new infrastructure configuration. So I click on the default configuration and click next. So So for distribution settings here, I'll skip it and click next. So before I run the pipeline, I will review the pipeline details to make sure everything is correct and I proceed to create pipeline. So the image pipeline AMI test was successfully created, and this is a summary of the image pipeline that was created. The creation time, the build schedule, pipeline status, security scanning, enhanced metadata collection. So as you can see here, the security scanning status is showing disabled, but enabling it is actually the best practice because it will scan the AMI for vulnerabilities after it's built. It will also serve as extra assurance even after hardening with stick or hardening with any build component. So to check this, click on actions, edit pipeline. So so I scroll down to enable security settings here. Click on it. So as you can see here, the EC2 security scanning is showing not enabled. The ECR security scanning is also showing not enabled. But to enable this, I need to launch Amazon Inspector here. But this Amazon Inspector is not a free version, it's a paid version. So for the purpose of this demo, I will leave it disabled and move on. So I go back to the pipeline, scroll down, click on next, 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 and then save changes. So the next thing I need to do is to trigger the pipeline to run. Remember, I chose the pipeline to run based on manual. So I click on actions and run pipeline. So pipeline execution initiated successfully. So I click view details to check the status of the pipeline. So here the image status is building. So while the pipeline is building, I can use CloudWatch to monitor progress. So it's either I search for CloudWatch on the AWS search bar here and go to logs, or I click log stream here to take me to the log group. So here I can see the status of the image build, instance status pass, waiting for instance availability, action successful for step. So while waiting for the image to build, I go to EC2 AMI to check if the image is available. Click on EC2. Yes, I click on AMI. So there is no AMI available in this region now. So I go back to the log stream to check. Okay, so the image is still building. Waiting for image availability, creating image, action successful for step. So what I need to do right now is to go back to EC2 AMI to check if the image is there. So I refresh the page. So my image recipe is ready. This is this AMI recipe. So before I use this image to launch an instance, I need to check the availability status. So I go back to the image pipeline. So here the image status is showing available, which means that my image is ready and can be used to launch an instance. So next, I proceed to launch an instance with the image. So I go back to EC2 and so I click on the image, then launch instance. So next I give the instance a name, AMI instance, AMI instance. Next I scroll down. This was the image I built, the image recipe, image ID, username, and when it was built. So for the instance type here, I'll leave it at T3 micro. So for the key pair here, I click on the drop down to select an existing key pair, or I proceed to create a new key pair. So I don't want to create a new key pair here. I go back then, select an existing key pair, test admin. So next, I edit the network settings, click on edit, VPC, select the VPC, okay, subnet test, yes, enable auto assign IP address, So for the security group here, I click on select existing security group. Here I click on the drop down here, security test, and proceed to launch instance, and then proceed to launch instance. So I go back to the instance. So the AMI instance is running and the status check is initializing. So I need to wait for the status check to show true over true path. So what I need to do now is to keep refreshing the page. So now the status check is showing true over true path. So next I click on the instance and connect to the server. Click connect. So I'm establishing connection right now. So now I'm successfully connected to the server. So that confirms that my AMI works. And this is very important because now I can launch servers that are already patched, secure, and consistent instead of setting everything up from scratch every time. So inside the server here, the first thing I always do each time I launch a new server is to always make sure all my packages and security patches are current. So what I always do is I update the server. So to update the server, I run update -y. So here it said no package is marked for update. So what this simply means is that my system is already up to date. So there's nothing new to install. So what I need to do now is to proceed to try install something else. Sudo yum sudo install -y git enter. So as you can see here, the Git package is installing, proving that my custom AMI works as expected. So the value of this process is very clear. By using this image builder, I've created a secure, consistent, and reusable AMI. So now whenever I launch a new server, it comes pre-configured with the updates, the tools, and the components I baked in. So saving me time, reducing errors, and strengthening security. So this AMI isn't just a one-off server. It's a very reliable foundation I can reuse for future projects and production workloads.